Okay. I'm sure there's some questions on what am I doing. And there's a perfectly good hole there and a pile of dirt. And unfortunately, it was a revision on the plans, and it's too narrow. So I got the new plan, and now I got to move this pile of dirt to the right about 6 or 8 feet, so I can take 4 feet off of the edge of that hole and make it the right size. And that's basically because there was a couple unknowns on the job, and that got me thinking this might be a good opportunity and a good example of what happens when there's unknowns. So some of the unknowns is, what the hell's happening with our country? What the hell's happening with the leadership of our country? And what the hell are we all doing about it? And for me today, I'm moving a hole over a little bit. I really think that we're going to, it's turning into a pain in the ass. Trying to hold this up with my knees and my kind of an odd angle. Really not sure where things are going to be in the next month. You know, on one hand, the Democrat leadership, after Trump got shot at, I think they're very scared that they too will get shot at. And I think that the fact the kid got as far okay, it's still working. The fact that the kid got as far as he did is going to empower a lot of other people that are not so quite balanced. Especially now that all the shortcomings of the Secret Service are coming out on how they kind of screwed up and how it's been kind of endemic for quite some time how much they screw up. Another thing is that the people jumping all over the case of the reasonably petite women that were guarding Trump. I'm not a small guy, but I'm guessing if with their training, they could probably kick my ass. As far as that goes, as far as them not being tall enough to shield Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump's a big guy. And unless you have like a bunch of big beefy guys from the NBA, nobody's going to be, very few are going to be able to do that. So I think that's a bullshit argument. The other thing is, one girl was shaken up and she was having a hard time reholstering her gun. I think I'd be shaken up too. I think everybody else would. Instinctively fell on their training and they jumped right in there to get shot. And I don't know how many people would do that. I've walked into situations and see something going wrong and walk in. And was always amazed how other people just stand there and watch something bad happening and don't do anything. It's just, and they just jumped in ready to get shot. So I think that them getting any slack is anybody giving them a bad name. I think that's totally inappropriate. As far as the director goes, she's a director of a pretty big agency. And her job isn't to to micromanage everything. Their job is to oversee it and put the right people in the right spots. And apparently that didn't really happen. But I can't necessarily say that she's responsible for the failures, because she had her field officers, she had her regional people, she had all the people that she had all the people that she thought were the right people in the right spot, and somewhere along the line they screwed up. And I was on a job years ago. I was renovating a building to make a daycare center, and I had a guy that I thought, he was 20-something years in the roofing, and we had to put on a dormer, a staircase. We would meet code, and so we built the dormer, and I put this guy up there to do it. And the guy's name was Curtis. I'm like, Curtis, he was basically illiterate, but he was a really good guy. He was a good worker. You just had to keep in mind that he couldn't read anything, not a tape measure. Yeah, he couldn't write his name. And as a result, he had been there a while, but he'd never gotten a raise, and everybody else, he started off at the labor rate with this company, and that I was a foreman for, and he never got any further, and he wasn't really happy about it. But a bunch of roofs were showing up out of the blue, and he knew roofing, and we talked about it, and he knew his shit. So I'm like, okay, Curtis, here's your moment to shine. Nail this roof off, and when it's done, we got like 5 or 6 roofs going on houses, and you're in charge. Send you with a couple of guys, and you're the man in charge, and you'll get that big raise you've been looking for. So he goes up, and he starts off, and I check on him, and it's coming out perfect. And then the owner of the building shows up, and he's like, hey, you got Curtis up on the roof. And I said, yeah. He's like, does he know what he's doing? I was like, yeah, Curtis is roofing 20 years. He's the man. He's like, you might want to check on him. So I go, and Curtis is nailing shingles on upside down, sideways, crooked. He's just nailing them all fucked up. Excuse my language. And I was like, Curtis, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm getting paid labor wages, so I'm doing it like a laborer would do. I was like, you do realize you're about to get fired. As soon as the owner of the company, a guy named Ed, as soon as he sees us, you're getting fired. He's like, yeah, well, I deserve a real rate, and I'm only going to do what you're paying me to do. So there I was in charge. I put a person that I thought was going to do a good job, and the guy totally screwed it up, and it landed on me. And that's what happened to the director. She put people that she thought were qualified, that she thought should be good for whatever position they're in, and it turns out they weren't. So I don't blame her. It's unfortunate. From the sounds of it, there was it was a minor disaster as far as organization. But you can't blame somebody who's in charge of thousands of people for the screw up whoever was in charge of organizing that thing. And so that's that. As far as Biden dropping out, I really thought that he would wait till the convention. I knew they would have to keep Kamala on the ticket in order to keep the money. I don't know. I don't know who she's going to have for a running mate. I really don't think Kamala's got a chance.